Okay, so you're ready to dive into this whole AI blogging thing and see if you can really make like 5 grand a month.
5 grand a month. Who wouldn't want that?
Right. So we've been digging through these tutorials, from the big names caffeinated blogger Adam Enfroy.
Buildapreneur, even.
Oh, yeah. And that one super straightforward title, "This AI blogging system makes $5,000 a month, 100% automated." Gotta love the confidence.
Yeah, honestly, seeing that title, I was a little skeptical. I had to see what they were actually, promising.
Same here, but gotta say, digging into it, it wasn't just randomly generated word salad. These guys are using AI, but there's a real system to it.
That's what jumped out at me. Not the AI itself, but the strategy. Yeah, AI is the tool, but it's the underlying approach these sources share that's, I think, really insightful.
It's kind of like they're building a content assembly line, But instead of turning out widgets, it's blog posts. Blog posts designed to get traffic and hopefully make some cash.
And what's interesting is that a lot of it isn't even new stuff. They're taking those classic digital marketing principles, niching down SEO, and just supercharging them with AI.
Which makes total sense. It's not like AI magically makes the fundamentals of online business disappear.
If anything, knowing those fundamentals is more important now, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's got access to these AI tools, so it's understanding the strategy that sets you apart.
Okay, so let's break it down, starting with niche selection. One thing that struck me was the emphasis on picking a niche for actual profit potential, not just because you think it'd be fun to write about.
Right. This isn't just hobby blogging. It's about building a sustainable business online. You got to think like an entrepreneur.
Adam Enfroy had this great example. He talked about journaling for women over 50. It's a niche for sure.
You're not the widest audience?
Yeah, and probably not the easiest to monetize. I'm sure there's an audience there, but you're not exactly hitting a gold mine.
Exactly. Might be a passion project, but we're talking about making 5 grand a month here. Enfroy actually advocates for building the site around your name, so yourname.com, which is kind of a personal brand play.
Which is interesting because Buildapreneur took a totally different approach, remember? They were all about scoping out their competitors to see what's already working.
Yeah. They actually went through a competitor's site to find content ideas, which sounds kind of sneaky, but it's smart.
It's like getting a crash course in market research without having to pay a consultant.
Exactly. You're not copying them outright, but you're seeing what's already getting traffic, what people are responding to.
So the takeaway here is that picking your niche isn't just about, oh, I like to knit, I'll blog about knitting. It's about finding that sweet spot where your interests, audience, and potential to actually make money align.
And luckily, there are AI tools that can help with that. We saw a few mentions of Claw AI's Niche Hunter. It analyzes data to suggest niches that might be a good fit.
But even with the fancy AI, human judgment still matters, right?
100%. AI can crunch the numbers, but you're the one who's got to look at the data, consider your own skills, and ultimately make the call.
So you've got your niche. Next up, it's keyword time. Seriously, every single source hammered home how crucial keyword research is.
Keywords are like those little breadcrumbs you leave out to lure your readers in. If you're not using the right ones, they're never going to find you.
Buildapreneur was super specific about this, remember? They were all about finding those low competition keywords, really drilling down into the data.
They kept talking about KD, keyword difficulty. Basically, you don't want to go after keywords that are super competitive because, especially if you're starting out, you're going to get buried.
It's like trying to shout over a stadium full of people. You need to find a quieter corner where your voice can actually be heard.
And that's where tools like Ahrefs come in handy. They showed how you can actually analyze keywords, see how competitive they are, even see what your competitors were ranking for.
So you're not just throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping something sticks. You're being strategic, using data to make informed decisions.
Exactly. It's about working smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've nailed down our niche. We've got our killer keywords. Now comes the fun part, the actual content creation. And this is where things got really interesting because our sources had wildly different approaches to using AI.
Yeah, we saw everything from basic ChatGPT prompts to full-blown content automation setups. It's amazing to see how many different ways people are using this technology.
Which just goes to show there's no right or wrong way to do this. You got to find what works for you, what fits your comfort level with AI and your technical skills.
Right, on one end of the spectrum, we have caffeinated blogger who uses ChatGPT to help them brainstorm content ideas and get a basic draft down.
And it wasn't just plugging in a prompt and hitting go. They talked about using AI to paraphrase, to rewrite stuff they found elsewhere but in a way that's still original.
It's like having a brainstorming partner who never gets tired, never runs out of ideas.
Right. And get this, they even talked about intentionally adding grammatical errors to their AI-generated content.
Wait, seriously, why would you do that?
Well, apparently Google's getting pretty good at detecting AI-written content. So by throwing in a few intentional errors, you can try to throw the algorithms off your scent.
It's like a digital game of cat and mouse. You're using AI to write content, then trying to make it look less like AI wrote it.
Exactly. And it highlights this ongoing tension between AI and, well, the platforms that are trying to keep up.
Yeah.
It's also why human oversight is still so crucial. You can't just blindly trust the AI.
Makes sense. You're ultimately the one putting your name on this content, right?
Exactly. Your reputation is on the line. So ChatGPT for brainstorming. Got it. Then we have machines.ai, which seemed a lot more systematized, I guess.
Yeah, machines.ai is more about taking your keywords and then helping you structure a whole article around them.
Like having a little content assistant who can handle the more tedious parts of outlining and getting everything organized.
So it's kind of a middle ground between like full-on AI writing and doing everything manually.
Right. You still have control, but the AI is there to help streamline the process. And then on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, Adam Anfroy blew my mind.
Dude, his make.com setup, talk about next level. He basically showed how you can input a keyword into a spreadsheet and it spits out a finished blog post.
Right. Like, it's insane. It shows just how powerful no-code automation tools can be, but
it also looked insanely complicated, like not something a beginner could just replicate.
oh, for sure. You need a solid understanding of how different platforms work together, how to integrate everything. This isn't just AI. It's like coding without code.
Which makes me think back to that video title, This AI Blogging System Makes $5,000 a month, 100% automated. A little misleading, maybe.
Just a tad. It definitely highlights that AI blogging, as cool as it is, isn't some magic button. You still need to put in the work, especially if you want to get to that level of automation.
Right. The dream of passive income is alluring, but the reality is there's always going to be some level of effort involved.
Absolutely. Start with the fundamentals, then experiment with the tools, and gradually build a system that works for you.
Love it. So we've got our niche, our keywords, even dipped our toes into the AI content creation pool. But there's one crucial element everyone's stressed no matter their approach: editing.
This is where those human skills come into play, big time.
Because, as smart as AI is, it can't replicate human creativity or understanding. It's not going to know if your content is actually engaging or even factually accurate.
Exactly. And it's certainly not going to inject your own unique voice and style.
So let's unpack why editing is non-negotiable in the world of AI blogging and dive into some specific techniques these sources use to make their content really pop.
It's kind of wild, right? AI blogging is making us rethink what it even means to be a content creator these days.
You're the real part of me is like, this is amazing. And the other part's thinking, wait, am I about to be replaced by a robot?
It's a valid fear. This tech is moving fast. But to me, the really interesting part isn't just the AI itself. It's how we choose to use it.
Yeah, it's a lot to process, tricking AI detectors 1 minute, building whole automation systems the next. Where do we even start?
Right. That's why I think it's so important to approach AI with both excitement and a healthy dose of, like, critical thinking.
Yeah.
We need to be aware of the downsides of leaning too heavily on it, even while we're exploring all the cool stuff it can do.
One thing I keep coming back to is this balance between creating content for actual humans versus gaming the system for, SEO. No one wants to read a 2,000-word blog post that sounds like a robot wrote it, even if it's perfectly optimized.
Totally. And it's a trap I see people falling into all the time. They get so focused on the technical SEO stuff, they forget that at the end of the day, you're trying to connect with actual human beings.
It's like that saying, you can lead a horse to water. Okay, maybe not exactly like that, but you get the point. You can have the best SEO in the world, but if your content's boring, no one's going to stick around.
Exactly. And that brings us back to the importance of creating genuinely valuable content. If it's not engaging, informative, entertaining, no amount of SEO is going to save you.
Which is something Caffeinated Blogger kept coming back to, that human touch.
Right. You can't just take an AI-generated article, hit publish, and call it a day. You got to go in there, add your own voice, your experiences, your unique perspective, make it yours.
It's like they're taking those raw AI ingredients and turning them into a gourmet meal.
Love that. It's about taking something that might be technically sound, but kind of bland, and infusing it with your own flavor.
So it's not about tricking Google as much as it is about genuinely connecting with people,
Yeah.
right? Creating something they actually want to read.
Exactly. Which, brings up a bigger question about the ethics of all this AI content creation. As these tools get more sophisticated, we need to be having conversations about responsible use, transparency, even the impact on creativity itself.
Right, because it's not just about what AI can do, it's about what it should do. Like, what happens if we all just start letting robots write everything? Do we lose something in the process?
Big questions. And honestly, I don't think they're easy answers, but I do think it's important to be having those conversations, to be aware of the potential downsides as well as the positive stuff.
What gives me hope is that all these creators we looked at, even the ones with the crazy automated setups, they all still emphasize how important that human element is.
It's encouraging, right? It shows that people realize at the end of the day, AI is a tool. It can help us, it can make us more efficient, but can't replace what makes us human. Creativity, empathy, the ability to connect with one another.
It's like they're saying, hey, AI is amazing, but let's not forget why we're doing this in the first place. To share ideas, to tell stories, to build community.
Exactly. And to do that well, we need to see AI as a collaborator, not a replacement.
So let's say someone's listening to this and they're feeling both super excited about AI blogging and maybe a little overwhelmed. Where do they even start?
It's tempting to dive headfirst into the tools and tactics, but honestly, the best place to begin is with a solid foundation in good content creation, period.
So before you even think about AI, you need to understand things like identifying your target audience, crafting a message that resonates, writing in a way that engages people.
Exactly. Those are the skills that will make you a good writer, regardless of whether you're using AI or a typewriter.
Like, you wouldn't try to build a house without understanding the basics of, like, architecture and carpentry, right?
Perfect analogy. Start with the fundamentals, and then you can look at how AI can help you scale your efforts and take things further.
Okay, so you've got those fundamentals down. Then what? Time to fire up the AI content machine.
Exactly. There are so many great options out there, each with its own strengths and weaknesses. We've talked about a few, like ChatGPT, Machines.ai, but there's a ton more to explore.
It's like a whole buffet of AI-powered content tools.
It really is. But like any buffet, it's easy to get overwhelmed. My advice, start small. Experiment with different tools. See what clicks for you, what fits into how you like to work.
Don't be afraid to try stuff, make mistakes, figure it out as you go.
Exactly. The AI world is constantly changing, so the key is to stay curious, stay informed, and never stop learning.
And remember, this isn't a sprint, it's a marathon, right? Build a system that works for you, and don't be afraid to adjust your approach as you go.
Speaking of learning and adapting, I think it's time we dug a little deeper into the actual process of creating and editing AI content. Because, as we've established, it's not just about letting the AI do all the work.
Okay, listener, get those notepads ready. We're about to unpack the nitty-gritty of turning those AI drafts into polished, engaging content. So we've got our AI pumping out content ideas, first drafts, even like whole articles, but we're definitely not hitting publish without some serious human intervention.
Right. Think of it like this AI is your super fast intern. They can gather all the research, maybe even cobble together a rough draft, but it's your job to shape it, refine it, make sure it doesn't sound like it was written by a machine.
Yeah, Caffeinated Blogger actually walked through this whole editing process, showing how they take an AI article and really make it sing.
It's about finding that sweet spot, right? Leveraging the AI's speed and efficiency, but then infusing it with your own voice, your own style. Remember, we want Google to think a human wrote this thing, not just some clever algorithm.
They had this funny bit about how AI tends to start every sentence the same way, like it hasn't quite mastered the art of varied sentence structure.
It's those subtle things that we as humans pick up on instantly, right? AI might nail grammar and vocabulary, but it's that flow, that rhythm of the writing that really hooks a reader.
Kind of like those early experiments with AI music, technically impressive, but lacking that certain something that makes you want to tap your foot.
Exactly. We're going for page turners here, not robot research papers. And speaking of research, it was surprising how much emphasis everyone put on fact-checking those AI drafts. Apparently, AI can have a bit of a hallucination problem.
Hallucination, as in making stuff up.
Yeah. It's like it'll connect the dots, but those docs don't always lead to an accurate conclusion. So even if it sounds plausible, you got to double check everything.
Especially if you're writing about like financial advice or medical stuff. You definitely don't want to be giving out bad advice just because an algorithm told you to.
Absolutely. Those are high stakes areas where human judgment, not to mention ethics, are super important.
This whole thing really makes you think about the future of writing, you know? Are robots going to steal all our jobs?
It's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think the answer is still being written. AI is a tool. It's not going away, but it's up to us how we adapt and evolve alongside it.
Right, like the skill set is shifting. It's not just about being a good writer anymore. It's about being a good AI manager, knowing how to get the best out of it, how to refine and polish its output.
Exactly. The writers who thrive in this new world will be the ones who can work with AI, not against it. Think of it like having this tireless research assistant, bringing you all the raw materials. Your job then becomes to take those materials and craft them into something truly special.
I love that. It's a collaboration. AI can handle the heavy lifting, the more tedious stuff, and that frees us up as humans to focus on the things AI can't do. Strategy, creativity, that spark of ingenuity.
Exactly.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into AI blogging, what are the big takeaways for our listeners? What do they really need to walk away with?
First and foremost, AI is a tool, not a magic button. It's about working smarter, not just faster.
And it's not about replacing human creativity, but amplifying it. It's about using AI to help us come up with better ideas, refine our writing, reach a wider audience.
Right, but approach it with a healthy dose of skepticism. Don't buy into the hype that it's all passive income and automated riches. It still takes work, it still takes strategy, and it takes a willingness to learn and adapt as this technology keeps evolving.
So true. And maybe most importantly, never lose sight of why we create content in the first place. It's about connecting with other human beings, sharing ideas, telling stories. No algorithm can replace that.
Well said. So, to everyone listening, as you dive into the world of AI blogging, remember, keep learning, keep experimenting, and never underestimate the power of your own unique voice.
Until next time, happy writing.